In a heated moment during our disagreement, Lisa, overtaken by emotion, firmly grabbed my arm and pulled me outside with a strength that belied her youth. She pushed me into an unkempt shed, a fair distance from the house. Despite my attempts to resist, her youthful vigor overpowered me, leaving me confined within the dim, cold confines of the shed. As discomfort started to creep in, panic set in as well. How was I to escape this predicament? Amidst the growing anxiety, I felt a reassuring presence in my back pocket. Ah, that's right. I have this, I thought, frantically reaching into my pocket. My name is Ashley, a 39-year-old who found satisfaction in her role as an administrative assistant. The job, nestled within the routine complexities of corporate life, was far from mundane. It was the warmth and kindness of my colleagues that made each day fulfilling. This camaraderie was what I cherished most about my workplace. Unlike many, I relished my daily tasks and never found them to be a burden. Despite my contentment with work, personal reflections on my unmarried status often clouded my mind. The joy of seeing friends embark on marital bliss evoked a mix of envy and melancholy within me. The daunting prospect of solitude in the years to come weighed heavily on my heart, leaving me to wonder if love was in the cards for me. Amidst these contemplations, life took a turn when I met Michael, a man 5 years my senior. Our paths crossed professionally as he became a liaison for his company, which frequently collaborated with mine. Our initial interactions were cautious, but over time a bond formed, leading us down the path of romance. After years of nurturing our relationship, Michael and I exchanged vows, a moment that filled me with immense joy. I harbored a deep hope for us to create a nurturing and happy home together. Michael was a father to Lisa, a 17-year-old from his previous marriage. He was open about his daughter from the start, and I had the opportunity to meet her a few times. Lisa, with her reserved demeanor and obvious adoration for her father, seemed to always want to be by his side. This sight filled me with warmth, and I secretly hoped that as we began our life together, Lisa and I would grow close. However, stepping into the role of Michael's wife and Lisa's stepmother brought unexpected challenges. I left my job to dedicate myself to homemaking, striving to provide a comfortable life for both Michael and Lisa. I took pride in preparing nutritious meals and maintaining a tidy home, embracing these daily tasks with dedication. Yet, the path to understanding Lisa's true nature and building a harmonious family dynamic was more complex than I had anticipated, revealing the intricacies and challenges of blending a family. Navigating the transition to family life was a whole new world compared to my days of solitude. Each household task seemed to multiply in complexity. Yet amidst these changes, I found solace in an unexpected companion, Bruce, a well-fed cat who had long been part of Michael's household. Bruce had a penchant for adventure, often sneaking out, yet I believed his wandering days would cease now that I was constantly home. Despite the weary days, Bruce's presence brought me a unique comfort. Life with Michael introduced its own set of challenges, but the joy it brought far outweighed my previous life of singleness. However, a lingering concern was Lisa's cold demeanor towards me, which cast a shadow over our home. Despite my efforts to engage Lisa in conversation, her responses were minimal, if at all. Her brief glances and silence met my attempts at dialogue. I would ask about her day, only to be met with silence, and after a brief moment with Bruce, she'd retreat to her room. This pattern of avoidance led me to believe that Lisa was still adjusting to my presence, a natural reaction for a teenager faced with her father's remarriage and the introduction of a new stepmother. Our prior acquaintances before the marriage did little to thaw the ice between us, leaving me puzzled on how to bridge the gap. Lisa's consistent disregard for me became the norm, marked by her evasion and visible displeasure in my presence. Her interaction with Michael, though limited, seemed driven by her desire not to distress him. Yet any form of communication felt better than none. As years passed, the chasm between Lisa and me remained wide, with life together feeling somewhat detached. After 4 years, Lisa's preferences and interests remained a mystery to me, except for her affection for Bruce. The initial tension Lisa's presence brought had become a familiar part of our household. However, as Lisa ventured into her high school years, she unexpectedly initiated a conversation with me. This shift, though small, hinted at a possible change in our relationship, suggesting that time might eventually heal and bring us closer together. My hope for a deeper connection with Lisa was rekindled, holding on to the belief that patience and understanding could bridge the gap between us, fostering a more harmonious family dynamic. When Lisa unexpectedly initiated a conversation with me, my surprise made my voice pitch higher. Could this be the moment she opens up? Curiosity and a whirlwind of emotions engulfed me, but I chose to wait silently for her to continue. Her forthcoming words, however, were far from what I had hoped for. "How long do you plan to stay here? Can you leave soon?" "You're in the way," she bluntly asked. The shock of her request left me speechless, questions racing through my mind, yet finding the right words felt impossible. Lisa then revealed the turmoil she had been harboring. "I love my dad. It was always just him and me. Why did we have to start living with someone like you? You try too hard to be motherly, and it's too much for me. I thought if I ignored you, you'd leave him," she confessed. Her words were like daggers, each one striking deep. In her eyes, my attempts at conversation, such as asking about her day, were nothing short of repulsive. Her facade of indifference in front of her father contrasted sharply with the harsh reality she presented to me alone. Lisa's spiteful remarks left me devastated. The notion that my years of effort to form a connection were all in vain was crushing. Lisa's satisfaction at my dismay, coupled with a smug smile I hadn't seen before, signaled the depth of her resentment. The aftermath of our conversation was a profound sadness, manifesting in tears that I couldn't hold back. The realization hit hard. Despite all my efforts, Lisa's acceptance and approval were unattainable. From that day forward, Lisa's behavior escalated to outright insults, criticizing my cooking and insinuating that my presence was a disservice to her father. "Dad could find someone much better than you," she'd say, yet she'd praise my cooking in front of her father, showcasing her ability to switch attitudes instantly. This duplicity left me bewildered and hurt. Caught in a maelstrom of emotions, happiness at trying to keep the peace, yet profound sadness at Lisa's rejection, I struggled to maintain my composure. Lisa's relentless criticism continued, each comment testing my resilience. The thought of confiding in Michael crossed my mind multiple times, but the burden of adding to his worries held me back. He was always engrossed in his work, and the last thing I wanted was to add to his stress. Navigating this complex dynamic became an everyday challenge, leaving me to ponder the delicate balance between seeking happiness and the reality of an unbridgeable gap within our family. The constant oscillation between wanting to keep the peace and feeling utterly defeated by Lisa's harshness was a lonely battle, one that seemed to have no clear resolution. I held on to the belief that with patience, things would eventually settle into place. Despite Lisa's expressed love for her father, I hoped that one day she might choose independence, moving out to carve her own path. This prospect of enduring until then seemed like a feasible plan. 4 years into our journey together, Lisa transitioned from high school to college, eventually securing a job close to home. Around the same time, Michael's work demanded more of his time away on business trips, which became increasingly longer, leaving me alone with Lisa for extended periods. During Michael's absence, Lisa's harshness seemed to know no bounds. Complaints about the meals I prepared became a daily occurrence, with Lisa leaving her food untouched, retreating to spend time with Bruce, our cat. This ongoing strain, coupled with feeling more like a servant than a family member, pushed me to my limits. There wasn't a singular incident that triggered my breaking point, but one day, amid Lisa's usual barrage of insults, something within me snapped. I couldn't contain my frustration any longer and confronted her, a departure from my usual tolerance. Lisa, caught off guard by my assertiveness, quickly lashed back, questioning my sudden change in demeanor. Overwhelmed, I suggested that since she was now working and financially independent, perhaps it was time for her to consider living on her own. This suggestion seemed to strike a chord, and for a moment, Lisa was at a loss for words. However, the tension escalated quickly. Lisa, in a fit of anger, grabbed me and dragged me outside toward a small storage shed. Despite my resistance, her youthful strength overpowered me, and she locked me inside. My pleas for release fell on deaf ears as Lisa coldly informed me of her upcoming trip, leaving me to fend for myself in the shed for 5 days, with only the reassurance that Bruce, the cat, would be fine thanks to an automatic feeder. Shocked by her disregard for my well-being and her irresponsible actions, I was left in disbelief as she declared this harsh treatment a punishment, for stealing her father from her. As Lisa walked away, I was left alone in the cold, dark shed, feeling unwell and uncertain of how to escape this dire situation. The realization that I was facing a serious predicament without any immediate solution was daunting, and the weight of Lisa's actions and words heavily bore down on me. The thought of being trapped in that shed for 5 days was unbearable. My heart raced with panic as I futilely pounded on the walls, seeking an escape. Then, I remembered the lifeline in my pocket. With a rush of relief, I pulled out my smartphone, grateful for this unexpected savior. I immediately called my friend Samantha, explaining my urgent need for help. In no time, Samantha arrived, her arrival marked by the sudden influx of sunlight as the shed door swung open, revealing her concerned face. Despite the brief duration, my time in the shed felt endlessly long, making the sight of the outside world feel almost alien. Gratefully, I accepted Samantha's offer to stay at her place, especially since I was without my keys and Michael was away. Assuming Lisa had already left for her trip, my next step was to inform Michael of the ordeal. I sent him a detailed message, not directly asking him to return, yet secretly hoping he would. To my relief, Mikhail called back, insisting on coming to pick me up from Samantha's house, prioritizing my well-being over his work commitments. His decision to drive 3 hours just to ensure my safety filled me with gratitude. Samantha's observation that Lisa might be acting out of jealousy sparked a new perspective. It made sense. Lisa's actions could stem from seeing me as an intruder in her close-knit relationship with her father. Acknowledging this, Samantha advised that being family didn't mean Lisa's behavior should go unchecked. Her words resonated with me, highlighting the importance of setting boundaries for Lisa's sake. Motivated by Samantha's advice, I brainstormed a plan to address the situation more directly, hoping to find a way to reach Lisa. Samantha encouraged me to try it, supporting the proactive approach. When Michael arrived, his concern was palpable, and his willingness to take a few days off work to address the situation underscored his commitment to our family's well-being. His actions prompted me to consider the balance between my relationship with Lisa and the need to maintain a healthy family dynamic. This incident, while challenging, opened the door to addressing underlying issues and working towards a more harmonious home life. Michael and I agreed that it was time for a heart-to-heart with Lisa. I shared with him every detail of Lisa's actions and how they led me to be trapped in the shed. Michael listened carefully, his remorse palpable as he apologized for his oversight. Despite my attempts to share the blame, acknowledging that Lisa had been secretive, Michael wished he had been more perceptive. Breaking the tension, Samantha chimed in, urging us to face the situation with determination. Her encouragement bolstered our resolve. As we headed home, a part of me worried about burdening Michael, but resolving Lisa's behavior was paramount for our family's peace. Once settled, I outlined to Michael the plan I devised for Lisa, hoping to make a lasting impression on her. After some thought, Michael agreed, aware that Lisa's actions might require a bold approach to prompt a change. 5 days later, as we awaited Lisa's return, we left a window open near the shed, keeping an eye out for her. Her arrival was marked by a taxi dropping her off in the late afternoon. The shed, manipulated to appear as if something dire had happened, was part of my plan to shock Lisa into realization. Despite the implausibility of someone perishing in such a short time, I gambled on Lisa's lack of knowledge about decomposition. Lisa's reaction upon encountering the shed's altered state confirmed the plan was taking effect. Her confusion and alarm were evident as she ventured inside, only to be met with a concocted scene of chaos and an overpowering smell. We confronted a bewildered Lisa, asking about her trip, with both concern and a need for a serious conversation visible in our approach. Michael's stern demeanor signaled the gravity of the situation to Lisa, who seemed to grasp the seriousness of her actions. Lisa's defense took an unexpected turn when she confessed her concern was for Bruce, a pet known for his escapades, mistakenly thinking he might have been trapped inside the shed. This revelation was shocking, especially her admission of forgetting she had locked me up. The situation unfolded into a moment of stark realization for Lisa, highlighting not just the immediate repercussions of her actions, but also the deeper issues of communication and consideration within our family. This incident, while fraught with tension, opened a pathway for honest dialogue, aiming to heal and strengthen our family bonds through understanding and empathy. Struggling to articulate my shock, Michael's frustration was palpable as he confronted Lisa's dismissive attitude. "I never imagined you'd act this way," he expressed, deeply disappointed by her lack of accountability. Lisa attempted to defend her actions, suggesting her feelings of being overshadowed by me led to her drastic measures. Yet Michael was quick to challenge her, highlighting the gravity of her actions spurred by mere jealousy. Lisa stood, trying once more to plead her case, claiming her actions were driven by love and a misguided attempt to regain her father's attention. She even suggested that the ordeal could have been avoided if I had remained silent, shifting blame onto me for the chaos that ensued. Her logic twisted further, suggesting her misbehavior was somehow my fault for not being more likable to her. As the conversation turned to Bruce, our pet, I pointed out Lisa's neglect and inconsistency in care, contrasting her professed love with her actions. Her concern for Bruce seemed superficial, especially when considering her prior claim that leaving him alone for days was acceptable. This, alongside her ignorance of his current needs that Michael and I had been attending to, underscored a lack of genuine care. Lisa's response to my frank observations was one of anger, accusing me of being an outsider who disrupted her family dynamic. Her inability to see beyond her perspective led to a heated exchange, with Michael intervening to underscore the selfishness of her rationale. In a pivotal moment, Michael made a heart-wrenching decision, telling Lisa it was time for her to leave our home. His stance was firm, rooted in the belief that we could not harbor someone whose impulsive actions risked harm to others without remorse. Lisa's pleas and tears did not sway him. His decision was final, marking a somber turning point in addressing the consequences of Lisa's actions and emphasizing the importance of responsibility and empathy within our family dynamic. Lisa's attempts to seek understanding from Michael fell on deaf ears. Her pleas were met with a firm dismissal. In a moment of desperation, she looked to me for support. "Ashley, can't you say something?" she implored. But aligning with Michael's stance, I encouraged her to accept the decision. "It's time for you to move on," I suggested, highlighting her tendency to focus solely on her needs, especially in times of conflict. With a heavy heart, Lisa packed her belongings and departed, her silhouette fading into the distance, embodying both solitude and a strange sense of relief on my part. In the days that followed, my phone was inundated with messages from Lisa, apologies, pleas for forgiveness, and updates on her circumstances. Her communications, erratic in timing and overwhelming in quantity, clearly showed her self-absorption. She detailed her struggles with finding suitable accommodation, her criteria seemingly too specific for her budget, reflecting her challenges with adapting to her new reality. Michael, too, received similar messages. His reaction was a mix of surprise and disappointment, pondering whether Lisa's difficulties stemmed from genuine inability or sheer self-centeredness. Despite her situation, the thought of reopening our home to her was inconceivable. The hope was for Lisa to embark on a journey of self-reflection and growth, a path she seemed reluctant to take. Life without Lisa brought a serene calm to our home. Michael's travel commitments were reduced, affording us more quality time together. The absence of tension allowed for a more relaxed and harmonious living environment. Lisa's unwillingness to heed previous warnings had led to this juncture, yet, in hindsight, it felt like a necessary evolution for our household. Our days are now filled with simple pleasures and shared moments of joy. Relaxing on the sofa after a day's chores, Bruce, our pet, finds comfort in my lap, a gentle reminder of the peaceful life we've cultivated. As he drifts to sleep, I'm enveloped in thoughts of the future, hopeful for many more tranquil moments like this, where the only concern is the contentment of our little family.